From heaven you came, helpless babe.
Jesus died for me. That's what's good about it.
What is good about Good Friday is that it is about Jesus' sacrifice, and that brings forgiveness. It demonstrates God's love, and it gives us hope.
Well, it's not good weather today, but it's Good Friday. We call it Good Friday because this is the day in which we remember Jesus' death. And for Christians, we believe that's good news because we believe through Jesus' death, through Jesus identifying with our sufferings, through God identifying with our sufferings, we have hope that we can then also believe that God really knows what it means to struggle. And through his sufferings and then his resurrection, we have hope that good will always triumph over evil.
Everything is good about Good Friday. The coming together of the whole Christian congregation, the fact that Jesus died on the cross to save us as sinners and give us a new release in life, that's the best thing about Good Friday.
For me, Good Friday is bringing everyone together for the same purpose and to pray for persecuted Christians throughout the world, to bring our solidarity to Christ crucified and for those persecuted, yes, exactly.
As we can see, Christians have many different ways to talk about the goodness of Good Friday, a day the disciples of Jesus would have considered to be terrible, scary, a day that they felt hopeless and helpless. I can imagine Jesus' disciples sobbing in shame, in disappointment, and probably feeling let down by the man whom they believed to be the Messiah, the man they counted on to rescue them from their bondage in the hands of the Roman Empire, the man who was to bring back the rightful worship of Yahweh and establish God's kingdom on earth. Their own man has been brutally humiliated and murdered by the powers that be. So, what good is the death of an innocent man? We saw on the news recently in France about a police officer that gave himself in to the Islamic terrorist to be taken hostage so that other hostages might be freed. He was eventually killed after freeing the other hostages. This officer died for love. He died for his faith in justice. He died for his faith in freedom. He died that others might live. He died for the greater good. For me, this is an example of a sacred death. Jesus' death was sacred in that he stood on his conviction for love. He stood for justice. He stood for peace. Jesus Christ stood for human freedom, human flourishing, and most importantly, for his vision of God's kingdom on earth. His death represents a new way of being human. Jesus' death was a death of integrity. Now, Good Friday can be seen as good because it represents Jesus' sacrifice. But we are still talking about death here. What good is in death? Death is not the definition of good, is it? Even Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians talks about the cross as a scandal to the Jews and foolishness to the Gentiles. John the Baptist, while in prison early on in Jesus' ministry, questioned the messiahship of Jesus. So what is good about Good Friday? Some theologians have even suggested that we should stop calling it good. Well, I would like to announce to us that the goodness of Good Friday didn't end in Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. But the climax of this goodness is found in Easter Sunday. Through the resurrection of Jesus Christ, he was not only vindicated as the Son of God or as the true Messiah, he also, through his resurrection, made a mockery of the violent system of this world. He made a mockery of death, which is the greatest weapon of evil and evildoers. Jesus brought to climax the new phase of the ongoing work of creation. The act of one man, Jesus, changed human history for good. Easter Sunday made Good Friday good. So, brothers and sisters, I would like to invite you to join us tomorrow at St. Barnabas Church, Walthamstow in London. on Easter Sunday, 11 a.m., as we celebrate the risen Christ and learn more of what it means for our world and for us today. See you there.
My will, but yours, he said. This is our God, the servant King. He calls us now to follow him, to bring our lives as a daily offering of worship to the servant King.